This is not the hardest part of training for a marathon. This is. Or, more specifically, everything other than the actual running. The early morning wake-ups, the long runs on Sundays, the workouts in the rain, the disgusting goos, the blisters on my feet, the random joint pains, the constant feeling of having to fart but not actually farting. These were the hardest parts of training for a marathon. I don't think I realized this until I actually finished my first and only marathon. But before we get there, let's go back. Back to May 28th, this was the first day that I officially committed to training for and running a marathon. With the race being on October 13th of the same year, that meant I had exactly 138 days, or about 20 weeks to train. So, I did what any logical person would do.
Design a training program so that I can run a marathon.
Then why the f would I listen to you? So I used my second best option, my brain. I wrote out the whole training plan on my whiteboard. I told myself that all I had to do was stick to these amounts of miles every day for the next 20 weeks, and I could be one of the 0.17% of people that finish a marathon every year. It was then that I should have realized that running wasn't going to be the hardest part of this. How am I going to find time
What
for
if it
all
gets
these
too
runs?
hot?
What if I get
What if
tired
it gets
of
too
doing
cold?
Or what if it's raining?
How am I going
Or
to
what
what
if
if it gets
it's
too hot?
cold?
What if it gets
What
too
if
cold?
it's- But those weren't the thoughts going through my head in the moment. All I could think about was how cool it would be to say I've run a marathon. I would finally have a good fun fact for any icebreaker activity for the rest of my life. I think it was this ignorance that actually made it possible for me to mostly complete my training. If I had known what I was getting myself into at the start, I may have never started. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the data from my 20 weeks of training. I, for the most part, did stick with my training regimen. I ran a total of 524.9 miles, good for 3.8 miles per day, or more accurately, 6.2 miles per run. I ran on 84 days and took 54 days off. The total amount of time I spent training was 73 hours, 27 minutes, and 3 seconds, and the total elevation I gained was approximately 33,435 feet, good for 1.15 Mount Everests, or 2.93 Mount Everest if you start at base camp. During my training, I had a pain in my left hip, which took me out for about a week and a half. I also experienced pain in my right groin, right and left shoulder, the right side of my chest, my right foot, my top right canine, both of my knees and calves, my stomach, my upper back, and my head. But despite all of that, I trained. And if it wasn't for that blissful ignorance, I may have never finished. So if you want to do a thing, but are afraid of starting, just remember the thing you're most afraid of that's stopping you from starting is probably the easiest part. And there's probably some really hard stuff that you don't even know about. Wait a second. That's not a very good lesson. Follow your dream. No, wait, that doesn't connect at all. Don't forget to stretch. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. But maybe there isn't a lesson here. Maybe just because another 21-year-old kid on the internet ran a marathon, there isn't actually anything here for you to learn. Maybe I just did this to prove to myself that I could, and now I will never do it again. Maybe I shouldn't use this accomplishment for internet clout, but rather use it as a time to reflect on myself and my own value.
Just kidding, go kudos, my LinkedIn post about road running taught me about B2B sales and corporate innovation integration. Hi, welcome to the Matrix, mother.